Welcome back to Old Roommates. This week we will be taking a shallow dive into the 1999 movie American Beauty. So sit back, relax,
and stare at a dad's gun cabinet. Right? All right, welcome to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. I'm Brian.
I am Christina.
And we're revisiting American Beauty, the 1999 film, Best Picture Oscar winner. And yeah, so I think the first thing we should probably talk about, because when we talked about reviewing this movie or looking at it again, is the whole Kevin Spacey thing.
Yes.
And I think everybody knows, the allegations against him and how
many allegations.
Yeah, and the House of Cards situation and so on and so forth. Allegations, etc., etc., etc. So first we should probably talk about then.
Sure. Well, I mean, we would.
Or do you want to? Yeah.
Let's just talk about the Kevin Spacey.
Okay,
Let's just get that elephant out of the room. So we were thinking about this movie, and then we thought, well, I don't know about this Kevin Spacey aspect of it. But I think after reflecting on that, we both sort of decided we would watch this movie. And for me, I thought it'd be interesting, knowing that I liked it before, if it would change my opinion of the movie, knowing what I know now about Kevin Spacey. So I thought it would be an interesting take because it is a new lens, right? We're looking at this through a different lens, a more wiser, older, more experienced,
more woke lens, more culturally conscious lens.
Yes.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's where I was coming from, and was that similar to where you were? Because we sort of...
Yeah, are you going to talk about should we talk about that later? Like how it actually impacted your viewing, or did it impact you at all? I mean, I had the same concern, I think, but I think it's important. I think it's important to... I mean, because when things like this happen, does that mean you never watch the movie again?
Right, and exactly.
It's hundreds of people that go into the production of the film, what happens to that work.
Right.
How do you analyze that work after something like that has happened, allegedly happened, so on and so forth? So I think it's important that we dive into this.
Sure.
We have, I think, probably 0%, say psychological expertise in really analyzing this from a cultural perspective.
I would give myself a 1% myself, but
so I think it's fine, because I think this is how most people watch movies, and
definitely.
I think just to kind of we'll get to that in a minute. I think we always start off with the then part of this. The then 1999. Christina, what were you doing in 1999?
Oh, geez, how old was I in 1999?
20 years ago.
20. Wait, 32 years? That was 32 years ago. Okay. I mean, I was 32 years old. Like, all right. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I'm sorry. So, yes, I was 32 years old. I remember watching this. I don't know who I was with, but I did watch it in the movie theaters, because back then I went to the movies, and I loved it. I thought I bought the movie, and I'm still unsure if I did or not. But I did, again, I talked about this in The Labyrinth. I actually bought the soundtrack. I loved the movie, the music in it. I actually bought the score, too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Something about it really spoke to me. So I loved it. Cool. It was early 30s.
Well, we started together. It was me, you. Thanks for remembering. We started with Kim. It was me, you, and Kim.
Oh,
okay. I remember this. We went to the pizza place in, the really popular one. It's like, I think it's like the Brockton, not George's Cafe. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But we went to pizza after. I remember very vividly.
Isn't that funny? I couldn't. I remember was sitting in the theater watching it. I couldn't remember who it was.
But 99, it was
no offense.
I was 27, and I think I was just out and about working at obviously Jordans, right? And it was before I met Carl, my husband, and yeah. So I think it was, but at the same time, I loved it. I loved the movie. I remember thinking like I'd never seen truly as much as it's not a very crazy, expansive story. It's really just about this family and the neighbors. I really felt like there were a lot of things I had never seen before, like the whole Annette Bening character. There are things that kind of jolted me where I was like, oh, this is acting. Like this is like really good filmmaking. And so I remember it had a really profound effect on me. And I think we're going to talk about the now in a bit.
Sure.
But same. I loved it. Thought it was great. I remember telling people like that how much I loved it, and I think a lot of the acting stood out to me.
It was great acting. So the other part too is I don't remember ever seeing like a preview to it, and I think that makes a difference today watching a movie as opposed to watching a movie back then, where I just feel like you hear so much more about what a movie is like, what people like about it or whatever. You hear a lot more about movies these days before ever seeing the movie. And I think back then it was like, when did we see previews? Probably just on TV. Or in the theaters, or in the theaters. Yeah. So I don't remember knowing much about it beforehand, and I think that was, again, it was surprising. It was like simple, but the acting was so good, and it was interesting characters, somewhat exaggerated characters, but not super unrealistic.
Yeah, I think it also like touched upon like this like idea of a married couple that really probably shouldn't be married anymore. Then the movie spends a lot of time with them. I think so. So now, like when I rewatched it, just like probably 2 or 3 days ago, it was interesting. With the start is when it's Thora Birch, she plays Jane, and it's a shot of her just saying like they're talking about killing the father. She's talking about killing her father, right? It's like. He's like, oh, do you want me to kill him? And she's like, would you? Or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember that beginning. I don't remember that at the beginning. I remember after. I remember like when sort of the aerial shot of the neighborhood.
Right.
That's how I thought the movie started. I didn't remember this little cinema moment where he's, filming her talking about hating her father that much. And it shook me differently this time because first of all I didn't remember it, but second of all because it's like so many documentaries on like I think about like HBO documentaries or Netflix documentaries that are always about murder. They typically start that way.
Sure.
Like it's always that hidden piece of video that where the person basically is confessing to everything. So right off the bat, things are not going to end well, and even Kevin Spacey, the first line out of his mouth is like, "In a year from now, I'll be dead."
Right. Which I loved about that. Like I felt like it was. I loved having that as like that first line. Like, oh, good. You almost kind of relax. Like, all right, great. This is who's gonna die. He's gonna die. Like, yeah. In a way, it makes you relax a little bit. But I remembered that beginning. I had forgotten about it, but as soon as it started, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that's how it started. And it was great. I thought it was a great way to start because you do wonder. I remember, watching it back then, just, wondering, like, kind of assuming that he killed, right? Killed the father. Yeah. And you're sort of watching the friendship, and you're like, oh, when's he going to turn? Like, it was really cool.
Yeah. But then, and I think that this is probably not one of the stronger moments, but I think like, and then when Annette Bening, like way fast forwarding into the movie, like with she's at the gun range. So there's that element, which I think is probably the least convincing to me in some ways. I like that she was shooting a gun and all that, but like I feel like that I'm jumping a bit, but like that was a very abrupt decision. Like Peter Gallagher basically breaks up with her, which under completely fine, for a very valid reason, that one, she should completely understand. Right. Instead, she freaks out and grabs her gun and is going to go kill her husband, which seems a very extreme reaction.
But is that what she was going to do? Like, I think the movie wanted us to assume or wanted us to believe that that was what she was planning on doing, but that there was nothing that indicated that that's what she was going to do. She went to the range. She's listening to his tapes.
Yeah.
It's raining. She's upset. But I would find it very hard to believe that she would have taken that step to actually even like point it in his direction. You know, but there was no reason for it. Why would she kill him?
Well, she wanted him out of her life.
But why? Do you know what I mean? Like
but you're saying what I'm saying. I'm saying like that was an overreaction.
Right.
I think maybe she was going to scare him with it. I think she was going to, say get the fuck out. Like I think she was going to hold the gun up to him and have him leave. With his tail
maybe she was
legs.
going to off herself.
I don't think so.
She was losing her mind.
She's also was chanting, "I'm not a victim. I won't be a victim. I'm not a victim. No one's gonna rain on my parade." It was all leading up to this, like, who is the one that's holding her back? But anyway, we can definitely get to that, because when we talk about the first thing, and it's probably, I think for me, like one of the most, first thing, iconic moments of the movie is the whole "I will sell this house today," and when she starts slapping herself in the face.
Oh my!
And that, I actually paused it because it's like 12 minutes into the movie. It happens like really fast, and I think that was when, for me, and it was then and now, where I'm like, that was really smart to put that up front, because it sort of changes the narrative. It's like, okay, so there's a lot of pent-up hostility, unfulfilled wishes. Lester, right off the bat, is on a downward. He's on a downward spiral. His shoulders. And I actually wrote this down. So again, I took notes. Christina did not.
I did not feel the need to take notes, but that's fine.
But I have like 4 pages of notes. But it's like but I did notice like his posture before he meets Ricky Fitz, Wes Bentley. Before they have that interaction on the side of the restaurant, his posture, his shoulders are hunched over. He always looks down, like, and it's not like over the top. It's pretty subtle, but you notice it, because then you notice like through the Mina Suvari interactions, like his posture changes, and it changes throughout the movie in this sort of upward trajectory. And I thought it was really, really interesting. And so you have this start where Lester's going to die. His wife is really battling some big insecurities.
Yeah.
And the daughter, also pretty early on, doesn't want much to do with either of them.
No, it's a very typical teen angst sort of situation with her.
And going to like one of the turning points is the cheerleading scene. And when Mina Suvari basically he fantasizes that she is basically doing a striptease. Right. So Mina Suvari, I looked it up because it bothered me.
Yes.
And I don't know why it didn't bother me before. Did it? So she was 20 when she filmed it. She's supposed to be 17, I think, in the film. It didn't. So here's my dilemma. When I saw it then 20 years ago, it didn't bother me watching this young girl like be imagined as doing a striptease. It didn't horrify me.
No, it didn't bother me either.
And watching it now, it actually did bother me, and I didn't really understand. Were we supposed to be like rooting for him? Were we supposed to be laughing at him? And if we are, why is it like at her expense or her vulnerability?
Right, and the other part that was kind of strange for me was that there were so many different moments in his life in that year of his. And it all sort of started with seeing his daughter's friend being a cheerleader and fantasizing about that. That was like the moment he started changing.
Yes.
But I felt like that wasn't the most important moment. I almost feel like that moment with Ricky,
yeah.
Right? And starting to smoke and starting to, stand up for himself with his wife. And then, of course, like the job situation. And like, I felt like that had a more natural progression. And I felt like it would have been a better suited, the cheerleader part of it would have been better suited somewhere like not quite the first thing that happened. You know, like maybe the second or third thing, because it would have made more sense for him to feel like he can fantasize about this young girl.
Because he's like this rebel.
Because now he's feeling a little bit more secure, right? It just seemed out of place. And it didn't seem out of place when I first watched it.
Yeah.
But it seemed out of place this time. Like, what about, I mean, what was it? It wasn't like she really wasn't doing an actual striptease. Like, that would have been another situation. He was just fantasizing about it. I mean, had he never gone to a football game?
Well,
like,
right,
I mean, I don't think he had. I think that was one of the first ones, and I think that was a basketball game, by the way. Sorry. I do think that it maybe had been like his first game of the year or the season or something like that.
Like,
to
as
watch his daughter.
Right. As is, was it like, oh God, like, did it creep you out? Was it gross? Like, was it gross? Was it like,
yeah. I mean, not back then. It didn't. I honestly, like, I mean, I think they portrayed her a little bit like older. I mean, obviously more worldly and you know, like definitely more sexual. You didn't really think too much about like how old she really is. I mean, I guess like 17 or 18, like it's pretty close.
Right, she drives, like,
she drives,
you know, she smokes, has sex all the time, and she's in a 17 magazine, and there's these stories. Whether or not they're true, you find out some are true, some not.
But it would make more sense for him to have made those changes after meeting Ricky. And having him be the driving force.
I like that better.
Yeah.
I like
I
like Christina's version of American Beauty better.
Thank you. But I think that, like, in this viewing, I didn't feel like she even played a huge part of it.
I actually, and I didn't time it, but there is the second half of the movie. I think she's barely in it. Like,
no,
like
from the moment that she sees him,
forgotten.
From the moment that he sees her, right, and she has the sleepover or whatever, that was all in the same night, right?
Right.
And then he starts working out because he hears that she's gonna, you know, blow him or whatever if he works out. And then he starts working out.
Yeah.
And then was that after he lost his job? I can't remember. I think it was after.
Okay.
No, it must have been after. No. I don't know when it was. But anyway, but all that stuff sort of tied in together. But she played a very minimal role, and he doesn't see her again until after he's in better shape and he has more confidence.
Yeah.
And he has that little bit of like that swagger, and you know so she wasn't really a driving force. Everything else was.
Yeah.
So I think when I watched it the first time, I felt like she was the driving force.
Yeah.
But this time I didn't feel like she was.
Yeah. The Ricky outside the restaurant, when he's the busboy or whatever.
Yeah. And he's like, don't pay me.
Yeah, don't pay me, yeah. That affected me more now than it did then. And maybe I think that is probably just because I'm older and I've had a few more jobs than I did then. And like, you know, maybe there were times wanting to have those conversations with, you know, not being tied to a paycheck or something like that. And I agree. It's funny because I did remember the Mina Suvari character really being in the movie a lot.
Right.
And she's
on the poster. I mean, she's, you know.
Yeah. It was funny. I don't remember. I remembered a lot about the movie, but I didn't remember the gay couple, and I forgot that they were because like being gay, it's like you look for these characters, for these characters in these movies, and I forgot that they were kind of the spark that sets that neighbor Chris Cooper's character off with about the faggots and all this kind of stuff, and I truly forgot about that, which I'm surprised at myself for not remembering.
I forgot about it too.
His disdain for gays. Like, I remember the ending when he actually kisses.
Yeah, that was a powerful scene.
Spacey, but I forgot. Like, oh, that's right, because he was so homophobic, and And I forgot that he beat his son up twice. Like, I was like, this is so...
I remember that. I did forget about the gay couple. I did. Yeah. And what was funny is the first scene, even after the first scene, I forgot that they were in there.
Yeah.
Because I'm watching that first scene with Annette Bening, who, by the way, amazing. I just love this woman. Mm-hmm. I could watch just back-to-back scenes of her, and I would just love every second of it. Mm-hmm. She's just amazing. Every scene she was in, she steals, and she's just so powerful. Anyway, so the gay couple, Scott Bakula and someone else.
I think it's Sam Robards.
Oh, really?
Only because they were on the same title card together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I see him, and I thought to myself, oh my gosh. Scott Bakula's in this movie?
I know. But I forgot they even existed.
And then I'm like, is this his only scene? Like, I really thought it was their only scene. And I'm like, was he that unknown? Like, it was very strange to me. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. And then when they showed up at the door, and then they were in one other scene when they were jogging or something, right?
Yeah.
But it was so funny. Like, I've completely forgotten
the roses in the beginning. And like,
well, that was the part, the first one I saw. The first scene was with them.
I did forget about that. I forgot about the faggot, like, over and over with the dad. Here's something funny. Allison Janney plays the mom, and when I would have bet money that she didn't speak at all. And when I watched it, I was like, oh, she's actually talking and stuff. Like, she actually has more than a few lines. And that's not how I remembered it. I remember her, like, truly not speaking at all and being a much more... She is a tragic character, but I remember it being much more tragic.
I forgot she existed. I was thinking it was just Ricky and his dad.
Oh, wow.
And then it showed her. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. And she is such a tragic character. It's so, so sad. Yeah. I mean, bordering on unrealistic.
Well, we don't really know what happened.
No, you don't. But, I mean, are we to believe that she just sits on a couch all day? I mean, that's truly what every scene was.
It's not like that bad of a life.
But I love that. I love when he introduces her to Jane, and she's like, I'm so sorry about the condition of the house. And it's like spotless. I could see you doing that.
Oh, yes. But in terms of Kevin Spacey, and now I think maybe it's a good time to talk about it.
Sure.
I think there are things, and I don't know if it's because I'm older, or if it's because society has had some awareness brought up in its consciousness, and I'll use that word again, where it bothers me. I do think it's super disturbing that he called her from Jane's
that was
room.
so crazy.
God.
That was so crazy. What was he going to say? Ask her for a date?
100% what I was thinking.
That was a stupid
There was no reason. What would he possibly say? And then it's like, does he just want to hear her voice? Super creepy. No reason.
No reason at all for that scene at all.
Yeah. Well, other than Jane, and this is what's weird, is and then Jane comes out and she realizes, and she's like, oh, it's star 69, and it's your number. And she's like, oh, and she looks at the book, and clearly the book's been open, her page is turned. And she's like, oh, gross. And I'm like...
But she had done that already at the meeting. Yeah. She's like, he fumbled. She's like, oh, how embarrassing. He was all over you.
Yeah.
It was not
But it was almost like this, bump and a bump. And I'm like, I think we're supposed to laugh at this. And I was super, disturbed by it. But I don't remember laughing the first time.
No, I definitely didn't. I was confused why they even had that.
The root beer in the kitchen is another super awkward scene when she, and of course, she's being this teenage girl who, knows the dad, has a crush. So now she's playing with fire. Mm-hmm. And she's, talking to him. But then the second he gives it back, she gets... skittish and she walks away.
But I think it's because she knows that she has the power in that relationship at the beginning. And she knows that he's not going to act on it and that,
but then when
she can flirt and he'll never act. And then,
Yeah. And then also how he's listening in at their bedroom door at the conversation. It's like that. And then I do.
But I will say, hilarious when they're talking and he's listening. And then she goes, what was that? And he books it down the hall. I laughed at that part.
I laughed. So I laughed at the part. I think maybe one or two times I laughed, and spoiler, I really loved the movie
I
all
loved
over
it too.
again. I
Yeah,
really
me
did.
too.
But I did laugh when Lester kisses Carolyn in front of the real estate guy.
Oh, that was
She's like,
good.
oh, this is Lester, blah, 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 and like he just kisses her, and I don't know why I found that so funny.
Yeah.
But I thought that was really good, but I think to the Kevin Spacey thing, I mean, I don't know. I think because his character is conflicted in this like weird, creepy, pervy guy, it's not a very sort of attractive role anyway, and so maybe that's why I was like, I'm buying this.
Yeah.
And I could say, he had the. I guess we have to still say allegations, I guess, like, towards scandals, but to me, to be honest, it didn't bother me.
It didn't bother me
because he was
either.
playing kind of a sleaze anyway, and I don't know if that's fair to say, but
so that's interesting. I didn't feel like he was playing a sleaze.
With the Mina Savara.
All right, so the Mina Savara, yes, but I also think that he was sort of out of his mind too. Like it's almost like he started going down, like downhill, not downhill, like spiraling downhill, but like, say, like he started one thing, like, okay, starts smoking pot, okay, and now, and then he blackmails his boss, and he's like, oh, wow, I got to do that, and so like I quit my job, and then I bought this car, and now I'm working out, and I'm looking better, and it's like, no, and now I'm gonna nail this woman that I really want, and I think I don't think it was him realizing that it was like this 17, like I don't think he thought about it. I think he was just so wrapped up in his new persona that he was just going for it and just seeing like like all these situations he's just going for. He's like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm feeling great, I'm telling off my wife, and I'm he just felt so good about everything that he was doing that all of a sudden he's just like, oh my God. And then he realizes, oh shit, like what the fuck? Like,
well, he realizes it when she says she's a virgin.
She said, yes, this is my first time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's just like, okay, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, and so I think that was just like an eye-opening kind of reality slap to him. Like, no, you're not. This isn't a conquest. Mm-hmm. This isn't something, you're actually just like molesting a child. Right?
Did you find it, so to that point, did you find it strange? And I was like, well, that's an interesting choice for this movie to make, like for the filmmaker to make, not Kevin Spacey's character, and nothing to Kevin Spacey. But the fact that he opens her shirt and her boobs are exposed, like, did it feel cheap to you? I was like, did that have to happen?
I was hoping it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember the scene in detail.
It bothered me then, too. I will say, I remember that bothering me. So I'm like, oh, so this isn't a sex scene. This is like a realization scene. But it's not about the boobs. It's about her virginity. And I'm like, so then the boobs are just gratuitous. Right. Or is it that he was so close to fulfilling this fantasy that he got probably as close as you could get? I mean, like, her skirt is off. But at the same time, like, it's kind of gross. It
was very gross.
To use the Thora Birch line that she says.
What was
that's gross.
Oh, that's gross. Yeah. No, it was gross, and I was like the whole time I'm like, oh, he doesn't open it, right? He doesn't, and then he did, and I was like, ugh, like why did they have to do that? My only thought on that is that all of the other fantasies that he had, it included opening the shirt and the rose petals come flying out. And so I think it was probably intentional that she opens the shirt, or he opens the shirt, and there's just breasts.
Christina, every once in a while, you really say something just so smart.
Funniest moments of this movie. Oh my God. Okay.
Well, I said one of my, so I had two, but
okay.
Yeah.
Well, Annette Bening drunk, I could just watch forever. She was absolutely hilarious.
Oh,
she's like with the olive. She's like, I just want to pick your brain. if you let me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's just so good. She's so convincing. And then the other scene with her, when it flashes to them in the hotel, and she's just like, yes, give it to the king. Oh, you like it in front of the king, you know? And she's like, you know, just like, don't ever stop fucking me or something like that. Yeah. I mean, oh my god, laughing, like out loud laughing at that scene.
Yeah.
I just loved it.
That was really funny. Did you ever see her in Postcards from the Edge? It's one of my favorite movies.
Yes.
She plays a hooker in a movie scene.
Yes.
And the actress, obviously. So. And it's very similar comedic little beats in that, and she's so good. But I laughed at the line, and I wrote it down, and it's very reminiscent of something that happened with me, you, and Lauren, when she says, "I'm going to walk home," and she's going to walk home with. So Jane is going to walk home with, what is the kid's name? Wes Bentley. What is his name? Ricky. Yeah. God, that's so bad. I remember it at the beginning. So Ricky. And so they said to Mina Savari's character, like, I'm gonna walk home too. And she's like, "You're gonna walk? That's almost a mile." And it's really funny. And the other thing was when Lester kisses her. Like, I again, funny, just really like funny, couple of funny scenes.
I thought Mina Savari was great. Mm-hmm. I thought she did. It was really good acting. Mm-hmm. One of the other funny scenes though was when they were talking to these other classmates, and she like went off on her, and she's like,
oh yeah.
She said she yells at her. She's like, "You were only in 17 once, and you looked fat. So stop acting like you're Christy fucking Turlington or whatever she said." Right? I loved that scene. Yeah. I loved it. I think, in fact, I like recited that several times after the movie. And the other thing I wanted to mention was talking about boobs. Thora Birch wants to save for a boob job.
No, but I thought to get them, make them smaller, right? She has big boobs.
That's what I was thinking. It was to enlarge, but I was like, why? She does not have small boobs.
No, I thought it was to. Oh wow! I thought it was to make them smaller.
Oh well, that would make more sense.
Well, email
that would
us.
Definitely make more sense.
Email us.
Does anybody know? Anybody know? I'll rewatch it. I have Prime for 30 days.
No, because she was looking at augmentation. Is augmentation not enlarge? Like, to me, there's breast enlargements and then breast augmentation, and I would imagine another crazy truck driving by.
That was the other one.
And that it was augmentation, so I thought she wanted them to be smaller. And also, I did a little research. So I was like, how old are these actresses?
Yeah.
And Thora Birch was, I think she was young. She was 17, and because she wasn't, so Mina was 20, Thora was 17, and because she was a minor, I think her parents had to be on the set.
Oh, really?
For that scene, and Children Protective Services had to be on the set for that scene, just to do it, which is, interesting. But I thought that was great, and and then I think if we want to talk about what we did. Oh, and there was one more thing.
So I'm just looking up augmentation.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm just looking at an ad, but it says personalized breast augmentation to perfectly enhance or enlarge breast size.
Well, enhance doesn't necessarily mean
so maybe
bigger.
It's just like wants to be reshaped or something.
Maybe she has some self-consciousness about her boobs. It wasn't clear. I don't think she needed to make them bigger, though.
I totally 100% agree.
And so I will say, then versus now, I remember the end with Ricky saying, "Let's go to New York." Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking, well, this feels really abrupt and tacked on, and this feels fake. Like, this doesn't feel like a genuine moment. When I watched it now, like a couple of days ago, I was like, that sounds like a plan. I think if I was Thora Birch, I would say, let's do it.
Well, and I was thinking, they're going to leave. Right?
Yeah.
This is what I was thinking. They were going to leave.
I know what you're going to say.
And then they would find the videotape and assume that he killed the dad. Like, that's where my mind went. I'm like, don't go.
Yeah.
They're going to...
That's really interesting. As soon as I started saying that, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. But
I wonder if they actually left. They must not have. If your father's going to be killed in the house, I'm imagining that they did not leave. I wonder what happened after.
That's super interesting. I like your version of this movie better, I think, than the actual version, Christina.
Thank you. I'll work on a sequel. But Chris Cooper was incredible.
Yeah. I just wrote down Chris Cooper scary, and then I added the word throughout. Like he was
scary, unpredictable, like a ticking time bomb.
So if you're going to talk about Allison Janney being maybe a little bit too much, I think that was my issue with him. It's like I absolutely know there's one-note dads out in this world. I had one, but it was like, but I do think it's like. Maybe he almost just got too much screen time. Like, if that's the one note of this character, maybe we don't need 8 to 10 or 12 scenes of him being exactly the same way over and over. So, I just watch him like beat up his son twice is like, okay. I mean, I don't know.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you, when you first watched the movie, did you figure out that it was Chris Cooper that killed the father? I forget his name now.
Well, when he walked, what do you mean? Like so, when he had the blood all over his shirt, yes.
So, well, obviously. Jesus. Really? You figured it out then? Good job, buddy. No. I mean, before they showed him, were you still unsure of who killed him? Because I remember being unsure the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
And being surprised that it was Chris Cooper's character.
Well,
then they showed him all bloody, and I figured it out, just like you.
It's a gift. It's a gift.
Yes. But I just remember, it wasn't even on my radar that it would have been him that killed him. Because I felt like he was, very depressed and walked away. And it was almost like, okay... I didn't think forward. I think if I watched it today for the first time, I might think differently and probably, hopefully, predict that he would have come back because there's so much violence in this world.
Well,
today.
Now though, so because he said faggots and because he really was so uncomfortable and so suspicious of Kevin Spacey's character, and when they're in the park, when they're in the driveway, and he's like, "Hey, Ricky, call me," and all that kind of stuff. When he's jogging with the gay couple.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I won't interrupt you. Go ahead.
No. But it's like he's so imbalanced sexually, and the fact that the wife seems very, what's the word? Comatose, borderline. That there's some pent-up aggression, hostility, sexual confusion there. And and then he finds the video of Kevin Spacey working out, and he goes, oh.
And he sees, in his view...
Oh, that's the one thing, the imagined blowjob.
The imagined blowjob.
That is the one thing that I was like, this is bullshit. Like, I don't know if I felt as strongly as I did rewatching it, but that scene is so bad. It's like Three's Company. I mean, it's like a Three's Company moment.
Yeah.
It's cheap. It felt really poorly done for such a smart movie.
I think, yes. I see why they did it, but I don't think they had to do it.
Not at all.
I think the movie is too smart. We could have... we would have totally believed that he would have jumped to that conclusion... Without because of just his whole homophobic personality
and his imagination, insecurity,
all that insecurity. Yes. I think we would have been fine.
Yeah. That was the one part.
Even if they just had him walk into the house together
completely,
and just not see anything.
The garage. I mean, Kevin Spacey is already shirtless and sweaty. So imagine if he only saw his son walking out of the garage saying goodbye to a sweaty, shirtless Kevin Spacey. It didn't need the ridiculous staging of a blowjob with the 2 windows and perfect placement of the wall. That was when it was like this. I forgot how dumb that was, and I didn't register it. I was kind of going along because I love the movie so much, but I think now revisiting it and just being like, okay, that is really lame. And I think the movie, to your point, is a lot smarter than that. Anything else? What else? What else did you not like?
What else is there? I liked so much of it. I mean, I was just in awe this time at just the acting.
Mm-hmm.
Like the cast was so strong. The Peter Gallagher character was great.
Yeah.
Of course, Annette Bening, I've already said,
Yeah.
I just love. You know, I thought Kevin Spacey did a great job with what he had. You know, that transformation. It was believable to me that he was like this mousy guy and he turned to this very confident guy just through a series of great things that he did. Ballsy moves, I guess, that he did. I honestly feel like the Thora Birch character, I don't know, like, I get why they had that connection, but I don't know. I don't even know. Like, I'm trying to, if I imagine that movie without her in it,
You think it would be fine?
I think it would be okay. Although I guess she's like, she's the connection to...
But you need that character to be like, that's gross. If there's because she's almost the moral judgment, right? Like, because if you just had, it would be like, otherwise it would almost be like War of the Roses. It's like married couple that hates each other.
Right, why are they even together?
Why are they even together? Like, so there's this child that is literally caught between them. And she's the one who's like, you guys are crazy. And then she's the one that's like, Dad, you're gross. She's the one who's like, Mina Savari, you're a slut. Like, and if you don't have that, that shocked character, are these things shocking? Like, would it change the tone of the movie? Like, if we don't, like, there's, like, where is the moral compass of this movie if there's no one to be disgusted by some of the behavior?
Yeah. But how sad was that scene on the couch when they were like about to connect again, like reconnect?
Oh, and spilling the beer. And
then he didn't spill.
He didn't spill the beer, but I mean, like, when she was,
she was like, "Don't spill the beer."
But you know what I didn't like about that? When she did the weird voice, which was so strange. She's like, "Hey, Mr.
Manly Man."
Like, it was so weird. It was a weird choice.
It was like, "No, Mr. Smarty Man. There are things you don't know about me, Mr. Smarty Man."
Yeah,
that was awful. I was like, please don't do that again.
Like, please don't. I will cancel.
I will not include that scene if I'm rewatching.
Should we take a break and come back with our match game questions?
Yeah, let's do it. All right, we will be back.
We'll be right back.
Hey there, it's Brian and Christina. We just wanted to take this break to thank you for listening to Old Roommates, the only podcast that revisits pop culture through a middle-aged lens. Please subscribe to Old Roommates on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And give us a rating or review while you're there.
And if you have any questions, comments, or observations, shoot us an email at oldroommatespod@gmail.com. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Old Roommates. Thanks for listening, and now, back to the show. And we're back. Quite a break there. So really quick, with this Match Game stuff, we've mentioned this before. Match Game is one of our favorite game shows of all time, and it is, the way we were doing this is more of a newlywed-ish game, but we don't like that show. So we're doing this, but here's the thing: we have not shared these questions previously.
No, we have not.
I have no idea what you're about to ask me.
I don't even know what I'm going to ask you. No, I'm just kidding.
No. And so you don't know what I'm going to ask you.
No.
And not only that, but I've already guessed how you're going to answer. So this is how we do it, right? So, Christina.
Yes.
I'll start.
Good.
And this is really interesting because I didn't know the conversation was going to go this way.
Oh, good.
So it's about Jane. Thora Birch.
Jane.
Which of Jane's infractions would bother you the most as a mother? And I will say,
is there a multiple choice?
Well, do you really want there to be?
Well, I don't know. All the other questions you've given me have been multiple choice.
Oh gosh. Oh my God. Do you want to ask me yours first? I'm going to write down multiple choice. Let me see.
All right, do the multiple choice.
All right.
So I will, I'll ask my question. It's really not that great. But, so, Brian.
Yeah?
You find out. This is similar, but it's kind of related. So you find out you only have a year to live.
Oh.
Okay.
Fun.
So, which of these 4 things?
Okay.
Would you do? I'm trying to think, like, in what order? I guess.
Oh my God. This 4.
So,
all right.
Like, I guess on 1 to 4. Okay. 1 being most likely.
Okay.
4 being least likely.
Okay.
To do. Okay.
All right.
Buy a sports car.
Okay.
Start working out.
Start.
I know. I was waiting for that. Start smoking weed.
Okay.
Start. Get a low responsibility job.
Oh my gosh.
So one.
All right, so I will know. So I can tell you. I already will tell you. Sports car is dead last. I would. Yeah, I think I would. This is so crazy. I think I would start with a low responsibility job.
Interesting.
Go to working out, weed, sports car. So again, 1, low job, 2, low. It was. All right. What low responsibility job?
Yeah.
2, working out. 3, weed. 4, sports car.
Interesting. So that's not what I would have guessed. Although I was supposed to guess first, but I guess it doesn't matter.
Oh. No, I answer first.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah, it's my question.
I don't even know.
All right,
Okay.
it's fine.
So I would have guessed first you would get buy a sports car,
Wow.
right? I don't know why. Second, I would say you would get a low responsibility job.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Close.
And then third, I said you would start smoking weed.
That's my third.
And then start working out would be last.
So you weren't that wrong.
Not too far off.
That's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah, cars, I don't really care. I'm not a car.
No, but I think that if you found out you were going to die, you'd be like, oh, well, I'm just going to blow all this money that I've been spending.
Oh, I'd find much better ways to blow.
Yeah, I
money.
know. Well,
My
stop
money.
it. This conversation took a really bad turn.
All right.
Okay.
So now I have multiple choice for you. So again,
Okay,
the question was, reminding the audience at home,
Yes.
which of Jane's infractions would bother you the most as a mom? Because you are a mom.
Yes.
So there's 3. I'm
Okay.
being much nicer than you were. Drinking beer, flashing the boy next door, mouthing off. Which one would bother you the most?
I don't even have to write it down.
Okay.
Flashing the neighbor.
No. I really,
Yes!
No. No, I mean that's not what I had. I had mouthing off. So
Mouthing off. Oh my God. Everybody mouths off.
But I think it would bother you. I think mouthing off. Here's why, right? So imagine okay, you walk in the room. I'm not going to say your daughter's name. You walk in the room, and I don't even want to make it personal. But
how can I not make it personal?
No, I know it's fine. All right. So you walk in, and
you went there,
and then she turns and she's at the window, and you're like, "What are you doing?" And she covers up.
I would
What?
smack her friggin' ass.
Really?
Oh my God, I would be so pissed.
Why?
Because she's flashing her body. It's like
So she's
it's like
so she's
10 minutes
16.
away
She's
from
six-
doing a
She's
porn.
16. She's 16 years old, flashing the boy next door her boobs.
Yeah, I would smack her
Really?
in the face. Like, that is so disrespectful.
More than drinking. So drinking beer, and so
I feel like drinking beer, I'm almost like expecting, because that's something
rite
that
of
teenagers
passage.
do, right?
Teenagers do that.
And then mouthing off,
I
that's
never
what they...
did, though.
Yes, you did.
No, I really didn't. I didn't.
Really?
No, I had my first drink at 21.
How are we
When I was working in Disney World.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. No.
Just kidding.
Okay.
Oh my God. So... No, I would definitely... The flashing bit is like... That's like... Shows like such a disrespect for her own body.
Okay.
And like that would bother me so much as like I raised her wrong. She's just like flashing. The other stuff like the drinking beer and the mouthing off, I think that just comes with the territory.
Was there anything that Thora Birch said where you're like, oh, like it just like...
What?
Yeah, she
had some. Yeah.
The Kodak moment was when Annette Bening slapped her. She's like, "Oh, Mom, please, I'm not in the mood for a Kodak moment."
Honestly, that wouldn't have bothered me that much. I feel
called
like
her
she said a few things terrible.
Gross, like you're gross. You're. I want. There are things at the dinner table.
What did she say that he turned around and said, "You better watch out. You're going to be turning into a real bitch like your mother." What did she say right before that? Because I remember her saying that, and I was like, "That's crossing the line."
Yeah. That he crossed the line.
Well, he did too.
Yeah.
But I feel like what she said.
I don't remember.
Was crossing the line too.
She was in a, because I was like, wow. I'm like, I think if my kid was talking to me that way, I think that would be the worst.
Yeah.
Of it, like. Because it's like, if you just don't have that respect, like you're talking about respect for her own body, and that's a huge one. But it's like they don't respect me. It's like, oh, where do you go from there? And there you have it.
So I guess that's it for this episode of Old Roommates.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to Old Roommates on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever you listen to podcasts. And give us a rating or review while you're there. And if you have an idea for the show, a suggestion, comment, email us at oldroommatespod@gmail.com.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Old Roommates. This is Christina.
And this is Brian.
Thanks again for listening. Till next time.